Okay guys, welcome once again to another episode of Scott Talks Law. So this is an episode whereby Scott Talks Law. And in this episode we are going to talk about the unit of Introduction to Forced Migration. This is the unit that deals with the persons of concern. So today we are going to look at smuggling and trafficking. Smuggling and trafficking. So smuggling, this is the provision of services, typically transportation or fraudulent document to a person who seeks illegal entry into a foreign country. So there is a transaction that involves provisions of illegal documents and transportation. So the smuggler provides transportation to this someone who is seeking to enter a country illegally, a migrant. So these services might be transportation or providing fraudulent documents, the illegal document to this person. So if you aid this person to enter into a country illegally by providing those services, then you are a smuggler and that action is smuggling. So according to Article 3 Sub-Article A of the Protocol Against Transnational Organized Crime, human smuggling shall involve the procurement. So according to Article 3 Sub-Article of the Transnational Organized Crime, human smuggling shall mean the procurement to obtain directly or indirectly financial or other material benefits of illegal entry of a person into a state or a party of which that person is not a permanent resident. So just as I have said, that illegal transaction, that services that is provided to this person who seeks illegal entry into a country which is not his national, or where he does not reside there permanently, that which is not his permanent country. So this protocol establishes smuggling as mutual financial agreement between the smuggler and the migrant to illegally transport him or her across the borders. So that action occurs across the borders as opposed to trafficking. You're going to look at trafficking and you realize that as opposed to smuggling, which occurs across the border, trafficking can also occur both at the borders and within the countries and across the borders. So human trafficking. Human trafficking, this involves the exploitation of human beings, exploitation of men, women and children for the purposes of forced labor or commercial sexual exploitation. So you take this person for forced labor into larger plantations or larger farms to work there for that forced labor. So if you exploit this person for forced labor, then that is human trafficking. Or transitional or other activities like sexual exploitation. You take this person to exploit him sexually, then that is another form of human trafficking. So according to the General Assembly Resolution 55/25 of 15th November 2000, it defines human trafficking as the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons through threat or forms of coercion, abduction, or fraud, of deception, of abuse of power or position of vulnerability, or the giving or receiving of procurement benefit to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person's for exploitation. So the forms of trafficking. There are several forms of trafficking. Trafficking for forced labor, that is the first form of trafficking. Trafficking for criminal activity. So the third form of trafficking is the trafficking of women and children for sexual exploitation, commercial sexual exploitation. The fourth form of trafficking is the trafficking for the removal of organs, such as the body organs like the kidney, the liver, for maybe financial activities and financial services. So the forms of smuggling, you have two forms of smuggling. You have the ad hoc smuggling and the covered smuggling. So ad hoc smuggling, this is the independent agreement by the migrant. It does not involve the smuggler. This is whereby the migrant himself just decides, make that personal decision of moving into a foreign country. So covered smuggling, this is whereby migrant through the abuse of documents. So this is smuggling of migrants through the abuse of documents. We provide fraudulent documents to enhance that act of smuggling. So we have case laws. In August 2015, for instance, 8 Ethiopian migrants were arrested while on board on a police lorry in Meru, according to the Daily Nation newspaper on August 18, 2015. Another case study is that of 19th March 2016, in yet another incident whereby 23 Ethiopian immigrants were arrested while residing in a house in Kahawa West, within Nairobi City County. So, international case studies. In 2015 in Arizona, more than 300 migrants were arrested and detained and prosecuted for conspiring to transport migrants by paying smugglers for their services. So these migrants were paying the smugglers for their services in Arizona in 2015. We also have the case law of that of Mohammed versus Republic, whereby the defendant was withholding these 11 people. I don't know if they're 11 or 8. So they were holding these people. They were providing that harboring services. The defendant Mohammed was giving them that harboring services. So these people were being offered. They were living and they were paying $10 per day for their services that they were being offered by the defendant before they traveled to Brazil. So the defendant, a foreign businessman, in May 2016 was accused of trafficking persons by receiving, the trafficked persons were to be received by Kashif, who was to organize for their travel to Bangladesh, while other victims were renting a house and subsetting the victims. 8 victims stayed at the defendant's house, for which they paid them $10 a day as they awaited Kashif to help them go to Brazil. So the fact of this case were identified by the court as evidence of the act of harboring. So the appellant kept persons in a rented house, so which each paid $10 a day. So as they awaited to be smuggled to Brazil. I don't know if it is Brazil or Bangladesh. So this person stayed at the defendant's house before they were smuggled. So that act of harboring, that element of trafficking in persons, the element of harboring is being brought out. Good. So we have the national laws and international laws against smuggling and trafficking. And under national laws, you have the Article 30 of the Constitution that is against slavery, servitude, and forced labor. Article 29 is also against freedom. It provides for the freedom and security of persons. So, according to the international laws, according to Article 14 of United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that no person shall be held in slavery, servitude, or forced labor. Also, the Convention of Civil and Political Rights of 1966, Article 8 says that no one shall be held in slavery, servitude, slave trade, and all other forms shall be prohibited. No one shall be held in servitude. No one shall be required to perform forced or compulsory labor. So that is another international law. So the distinction between smuggling and trafficking is that, number one, according to the definition, smuggling involves the procurement of services, typically transportation or provision of fraudulent document that will enhance someone to move into a foreign country illegally. While trafficking involves the exploitation of men, women, and children for the purposes of sex exploitation or forced labor. So another distinction is that smuggling is voluntary, while trafficking is involuntary. So the third distinction is that smuggling involves movement and transportation, whereas furthermore smuggling happens across the borders, while trafficking does not necessarily involve movement or transportation, since a person can be trafficked in their own home. The fourth distinction is that smuggling may be affected by policies related to border enforcement, while trafficking does not really is not really affected by policies related to border enforcement. So the fifth distinction is that perpetrators of smuggling may be opportunistic individuals, organized criminals, the migrant's own family or friends or others, but only where they act for financial or other material benefits. Traffickers may also be criminals, victims of own families and friends and others. So I hope you have enjoyed the lesson, and I think that is the end of the lesson on smuggling and trafficking. And I hope you have understood what trafficking is. You have been able to define or to understand the definition between smuggling and the definition of smuggling and trafficking, the distinction between smuggling and trafficking, the laws that govern smuggling and trafficking, the national laws and the international laws that Code 29 and 30 in Kenyan Constitution, and the international laws of that one of Universal Declaration on Human Rights, Article 14, that no one shall be held in slavery, servitude, or forced. And you've also been able to understand the case laws such as that one of Mohammed versus Republic, and the case studies that involve smuggling and trafficking. So I hope you also been able to understand the forms of trafficking and smuggling. The forms of trafficking, like trafficking for forced labor, trafficking for criminal activities, trafficking for So you have also been able to understand the forms of smuggling, the ad hoc smuggling, and the two forms of smuggling. So I think that is the end of my lecture, and I just want to wish you a good day, and please subscribe to Scott's Legal Channel. Subscribe to Scott's Legal Channel for more episodes like these ones and for more enjoyable lessons. Have a good day. Thanks.